2. I was not allowed to preach it for one reason, which will be obvious once I finish. First, I will not read the scriptures while I explain, but please follow along if you have a handy Bible. Atheists will want to watch this all the way through because it will show one of the reasons I deconverted in the first place. Now, let's begin at the beginning, where all good tales begin. In the first 6 verses, Elisha disobeys a command. Not as horrible as breaking one of the old laws, nonetheless he is ignoring his master. That's not really a good thing. He has begun his descent into sin, as I will illustrate later. He not only disobeys his master 3 times, but he also talks back in protest. Now, it can be said that he is disobeying God as well, though as a small connection to it, they were commanded to obey their masters. In verse 9, we see the clue to how horrible of a sin he commits in the end of the story. He asks for double the spirit that Elijah has, thus bringing him closer to the Lord. This would, in essence, grant him a stronger audience with God. And since he fulfills the requirement in verses 10 and 11, he gets the request fulfilled. Verses 12 through 19 just answer a few questions as to how he gets there, why he's going there, and all that. They're not really that important to the story. So if you wish to, pause it, read through those, and then push play again. Verses 19 through 22, we see him demonstrate the gifts he has been given by curing the land and the water. Elisha is granted a great blessing in spite of being rebellious, a wonderful gift to be able to communicate directly with God. This shows that he can now call on God and will be answered. In verse 23, he encounters children teasing and mocking him. Instead of taking the opportunity to spread the word of the Lord, a chance to teach these children that what they do is wrong, he curses them in the name of the Lord. He calls to God in vain, commanding his new privileges and power simply out of anger, unjustified and unholy anger. He abuses his new station, and thus God responds by fulfilling the curse. He not only must live with the images of the children's suffering, but we also know he is held accountable for their deaths. Think on that for a moment. Have we not heard of such a sin in the Bible? Many places warn us to not use the Lord's name in vain. Exodus 27 and Deuteronomy 5:11 both warn us of this, if you require some examples. Elijah, according to the commandments, will be held accountable for the deaths of these children. Now, Christians, you will likely feel a bit triumphant that this story does have a real lesson that is morally superior to teach now. But stop and think for a moment. How many others have you damned to hell? That is one of the ways of taking the Lord's name in vain, and one that is even used a lot by your preachers. Listen to your preachers. In the churches, listen and watch them. Are they like Elisha or Jesus? Jesus did not take the Lord's name in vain once, not at all. Elisha the rebel, who disobeyed his master, and even gained favor in spite of it, used the Lord's name in vain. Which do you wish to be? Will you stop damning and judging? Will you be more like Jesus? Or will you continue to rebel against your God and continue to damn more to hell? Stop and think also, who has been damned in the name of the Lord in public? Gays are the most common one, atheists as well, even pagans. As the Bible teaches, you are claiming responsibility for the outcomes. You will be held accountable for your vain use of the Lord's name. Do you really want to be punished for the suffering you caused to others by doing so? That is what you were told will happen. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain.